Good morning to this wholly unnatural time of Behind the Screen. Behind the Screen is a show where we hang out, we talk about games, things that inspire beauty, things that we find interesting. I'm JM, your host, and yesterday we had the best interview with Alexander McCrease of Autark Production, um, talking about Acts 2 and his thoughts on philosophy and gaming. It was just a beautiful conversation. That's going to be going up live on our YouTube channel tomorrow. If you missed that, go check it out. Today we're wrapping up our look at uh, Warhammer 40,000 Wrath and Glory. But before I get into that, our schedule is pretty well set for the rest of the year. Like, we're going to wrap up Wrath and Glory this week. We're going to be talking about uh, uh, riffs for the next couple of behind the screens. And then we're going to be talking about Malazan Books of the Fallen for the rest of the year. In January, we're going to do a deep dive into Castles and Crusades, but I think then I want to go and do a deep dive into Acts 2 and talk about why I am very excited about it. So first of all, good morning to Grom and Tink and John and everyone else in the chat. It is great to see you. John, yes, he did start The Escapist initially. Yep, that is exactly the website you were thinking of. So this is going to be a short one today because we're going to be looking at the Church of Steel. And again, book for $40. Cubicle 7 kind of keeps their pricing pretty much the same. Their hardcover splat books are 30 to 40 bucks. Their core books are 50 to 60. And again, stitched binding, full color layout, nice thick paper. But this book's an easy one to talk about. And I would put it up there in my order tier as a third tier book for Wrath and Glory. Same tier I put Redacted Records, which you know I loved. So this is a book that covers vehicles in the 40k universe. And so depending on your group and what kind of game you're running, this is either a must-have book or one that you may use only once in a while. But essentially it covers what vehicles in 40k are interesting, especially the Imperium vehicles, because they are governed and inhabited by something called a machine spirit. And so it takes some time to say, hey, the vehicles aren't just vehicles, because it's a sci-fi world that doesn't have any AI, at least on the human side of things. So it walks through, hey, here's what a Mechanicum and the Imperium think of what machine spirits are. Here's what Eldar vehicles are like. Here's, what Orc vehicles are like. And so it gives you a broad overview of the mechanical aspects of vehicles in the millennium, the 41st millennium. But more importantly, the large chunk of the book for me is what comes after that. After doing a little bit more, hey, here's the different types of vehicles by, high level by faction, it gives us a ton of actual vehicle rules. And if you want to play a crunchy space combat game with vehicles, this is the book that you need. How they interact, what are complications, how do PCs fill out various roles, how do you make cold shots against a vehicle, how do journeys work. So that's probably the chapter I enjoyed the most out of this book, because it is, excuse me, it is not a simulationist view of journeys, but it is very much more a narrative, sort of a combination between how Savage Worlds does it and a set of random tables to see what happens along the journey. So, for example, you break up your journey into several stages, you create your route, and then you get underway. And then depending on what happens in each stage is what kind of rolls you have to make. There are events based off what travel type. Are you going through a battlefield, urban, wasteland? And it just gives a little flavor and then for the players to interact with. So after the vehicle rules on how to use them, there's the chapter called The Workshop, which is how to create and customize vehicles for the Wrath and Glory system. So again, if this is something that you want to stress in your games, this book is vital. If this is not something that you have any interest in, and a lot of groups don't, like, let's just be honest, vehicle combat tends to be a little bit more mechanically complex and a little bit more difficult to translate to the table, unless of course you're Savage Worlds. And like, take Savage Worlds vehicle combat rules. They did a great job of taking a very complex system, I mean, like the chase rules as well, and boiling them down and getting them across clearly. I'm not saying that Cubicle 7 doesn't do that, but I just know some groups kind of balk at the idea of adding vehicle combat. And some groups are like, I have all of these figurines, and I have Land Raiders and Land Speeders and Wave Serpents and Monoliths that I want to get out onto the field and I want to use in my game, and so they're going to want stuff like this. So you get vehicle customization and creation rules, and then it goes through and gives you kind of actual statistics on the general vehicles of the 41st millennium. So you have a large appendix as well, which they should probably have removed. But it covers all of the new rules updates for the vehicles, all of the weapons. So it also gives you a ton of great reference material for weapons in your Wrath and Glory game. But you have, Death Coptas, Daka Jets, Ghost Arcs and Doomday Arcs for the Necrons, the Raider and the Ravager for the Drukhari, the Chaos versions of vehicles, all the Eldar vehicles, Warwalkers, Jet Bikes, Falcons, and then the Chimeras, the Hellhounds, the Valkyries, the Repulsors. And, so, sorry, I got caught up in looking at the beautiful art of this book. So, it is $40, 140 odd pages. Hello to Faye Helmet. Welcome to Behind the Screen. You came on a weird day. Normally we stream an hour later and we go a little bit longer, but today is by necessity a shorter day, but good to see you. And hello as always to Mark. So yeah, that covers all of the current books that are out. Now I know Cubicle 7 is in the midst of releasing the Xenos Threat Assessment book, which is sort of their bestiary, and Redacted Records 2 is on its way. But this kind of is the penultimate episode of our look at Wrath and Glory. We did a deep dive into the rules in October. You can go back and check that out. And we've covered Redacted Records, Litanies of the Lost, the Church of Steel, and the Forsaken System Player's Guide. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about how I would set up a Wrath and Glory campaign. Well, Faye Helmet, so Behind the Screen is a show where we hang out and we talk about games and we talk about what's interesting, what's beautiful. Today, we were reviewing the Church of Steel for the Wrath and Glory Warhammer 40k role-playing game. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about how to build a campaign for your friends. Take all your sweet miniatures from your 40k game. For me, I'm in the middle of putting together a Death Watch faction while I wait for the Necrons box to drop, and then I will be playing Necrons for the foreseeable future. But again, short show today. I apologize for the shortness of the show. Got to get on the road here in about 2 minutes. So I'm going to say until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming. Good to see everybody. And I hope to see you, Faye Helmet, in the future as we talk about Wrath and Glory on Thursday. If you like what we do, go check out all of the other great shows that we've been talking about on our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of 40k stuff for Wrath and Glory. It's kind of been our focus. I think next year we're going to look at Imperium Maledictum, the D100 version of the 40k role-playing game that Cubicle 7 just put out. So, Grom, yep, short and sweet today. Again, the interstices of space are crushing in on this episode, and so I'm going to wrap this up before I ramble on too much longer. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay gaming, and I will see you all on Thursday. Until then, have a good one.